Hi everyone, today's video is going to be a little bit different because it's just me sat down chatting to you about endometriosis. If you don't know what endometriosis is, I'm going to explain it all in a minute, but basically I wanted to do this video because the amount of questions I get about endometriosis is insane. It's the thing I get asked the most on Instagram. So many of you are asking about it, asking how it's been since pregnancy, asking if my symptoms have gone and all those types of things, and I just thought it would be much easier to make a video, an update on how everything's going. If you haven't seen the first video that I made when I got diagnosed 2 years ago, then I'll link it in the box below because that will give you like more of an understanding on everything. But yeah, this video is more going to be like an update, just trying to answer questions and just kind of tell you how things are going, because it is a big part of my life and I don't feel like I talk about it very much in vlogs. Because I want this to be like a positive place and I don't want to be like moany and complaining and stuff, and on a bad endometriosis day I just don't film, or we don't film. Also, I just wanted this to be a very raw, natural video. It's going to be quite rambly, I'm already rambling, but I just wanted it to be like me chatting to you, explaining what's going on. I couldn't be bothered to do my makeup or my hair. I just want it to be like a conversation, you know, a conversation where you can't talk back. Okay, so for starters, endometriosis, if you don't know what it is a condition where growths and scar tissue and stuff grow over your ovaries and your uterus. So on a usual period, someone who doesn't have endometriosis, they would have their period, the blood would come out, and then, I don't know, like the normal cycle of things just starts again. With endometriosis, you have your period, but not all of the blood comes out, so you have internal bleeding and it attaches to the walls of your stomach, your uterus, your ovaries, your lungs. Basically, it just doesn't all come out and it sticks to things. And then over time, those growths build and build and build, because every period you have, those growths also bleed, but obviously they don't have anywhere to go. But it really messes up your insides, because as you can imagine, if your uterus is attached to your bowel, it's going to cause some problems. The main gist of it is that it's just a big old mess in there, and every couple of years you need an operation to cut out the growths or burn out the growths. There's different ways of doing it. And the worst thing about it all is that there's no cure, so you can get the growths removed in an operation, and then the next time your period starts, it just starts again. So every like couple of years you need an operation, otherwise, I don't know, it just messes everything up. I'll just quickly run through the symptoms of endo quickly. The main ones are very painful periods, really heavy bleeding, although I don't have that at all, but I'll talk about that in a second. Very painful sex or unable to have sex, sorry, gross. And then the main one is infertility, which, as you guys know, I've been lucky enough to have Daisy. I'll talk about those things in a second. I think those are pretty much the main ones. If there's any others, then I'll pop them on the screen. But if any of those sound familiar to you, or you think that you might have endo after watching this video, I really would recommend going and doing some research, because I just thought I had painful periods. I went to the doctors for years about my periods and they just said, well, yeah, periods are painful, like they're painful for everyone. And there's no real scale of pain, like you can't compare to somebody else because you have a different pain threshold. So I just always thought I had painful periods. It was just something that I thought I had to deal with. And then I heard about endometriosis and I was like, holy crap, that is me. It affects 1 in 10 females, which is crazy. So many people have it and they don't know that they have it. They just think they have painful periods, and it's something that isn't talked about enough. One of the main questions I get about endometriosis is, can I explain the pain? And I didn't used to be able to explain it, apart from saying it's just really painful periods and you feel sick and it makes you faint, and like, I don't know about anyone else, but if I had an endo pain, I would sweat like ridiculously. I would need to run to the toilet, I would puke, I would pass out. It's just like, I don't know, it feels like somebody's got a fork and it's just like at your like bare flesh inside, which is really gross. So that was the only way I could explain it. It's like nothing else. But after having Daisy, I like was so shocked at how painful it was in terms of labour. Basically what I'm trying to say is when I went into labour, I was having contractions at home and I was like, this is so weird, I'm timing them, they're 2 minutes apart for like 30 seconds. This means I have to go to the doctors, I have to go in to see whether the baby's coming. But I was sat in the car and I was saying to David on the way to the hospital, I don't think this is it, they're gonna send me home, this is just endo, it feels like endo. And then we got to the hospital and they checked me and I was 5 centimeters dilated, which is active labor. That's when you can get an epidural, like active labor, the baby is coming. And I just thought it was endo. It felt exactly like my endo cramps that I get every single month, and it really blew my mind that that's how painful they are, like labor. So they are freaking painful. Anyone who wonders what it feels like a baby is coming out of your vajayjay. So now that that's talked about very quickly, I'll move on to how my endo is going at the moment. When I had my operation 2 years ago, it was a little bit over 2 years ago, they found endometriosis all on my left side and also attached to like my bum. It has a technical word, but it was basically my bum or my bowels. So they removed all of that by burning it away. And then my recovery took about 6 weeks, and then after that my surgeon said, look, if you want kids, I would suggest trying for a baby now because this is the best chance you're gonna get. And I was terrified for 2 reasons. One, I had read so much online about how people would become infertile because of endometriosis, and also that it was the ruining of their relationship that was so perfect because they couldn't have kids. So that was like a huge fear for me. I felt like I had been stripped of the thing that I was put on this earth to do. I didn't feel like I could do what a woman was meant to do and bring life into the world, and it was a really hard time. And secondly, I was really scared because suddenly I was being told that now's the time I should have a baby, and usually you get to decide when you're ready to have a baby. And as much as I desperately wanted to be a mum, I didn't know if I was ready. Like, it's a very big decision, and suddenly I was being told like now's go time, and I was like, crap, I don't know if like I've got things in order. I don't have a house, we're not married yet, like all that stuff was just like going around in my head. But we made the decision that we're gonna get married, we were engaged, and we're gonna buy a house one day, but we would kick ourselves if we went to get pregnant 2 years later and it was too late and I couldn't have children. So we just decided, you know what, scrap the order, those things will happen in time, and let's just try and get pregnant. It might happen, it might never happen, but if it doesn't happen, we will start the process of adoption. And David was great, like he just understood everything, he made everything so easy, and he brought up the fact that we can adopt, and I just thought he's just so special, and it just made it so that there was a bit less pressure. So after the operation in September, we started trying for a baby and we got pregnant in May. So September, October, November, December, January, February, March, April, May. So 7 months, wait, 8 months, I can't count. I just felt so lucky. I had read so many things about people who couldn't get pregnant, and I just honestly felt like Daisy was a miracle, and I was so thankful. I would love more children, but the fact that we have one is just, it's just amazing. It's so special, and I am so grateful. And if we can't have any other children, then I don't mind, because I've been able to have one, and I never thought I would be able to have one. So during pregnancy, I had 0 endometriosis pains, nothing. It was the absolute best. Like, I can't tell you how good it was to have 0 periods for 9 months, no pains, and like it was the world's best thing ever. Loads of people have asked whether my symptoms have gone since having Daisy, because lots of people say that your symptoms are lessened once you have a baby, and unfortunately for me they are much worse. I used to have my period pains or my endo pains during my period. I would have like bits in between if I was doing like intense exercise, like running, sprinting, lifting weights or whatever, but it was usually during my period. And now for some reason it is the exact opposite. It's when I'm, what's the word, ovulating. Like I don't have pains during my period anymore. Like my period is kind of a breeze. I barely bleed. It's really weird, but now my pain is when I'm ovulating. So I have this app and it tells me when in the month I'll be ovulating and when my period is and blah blah blah, and it is spot on to the day when I'm ovulating. I am in so much pain. There's times where I can't stand, there's times where I'm just sat crying, like holding my like ovaries. I don't know how to explain it, but it's so strange that the pain shifted now to the middle of the month rather than during my period. I don't know if that's typical, I'm not really sure. Like I haven't really heard anyone else talk about it in that way. I don't know if that means that the growths are all over my ovaries, which is quite scary. Sometimes when I pick up Daisy I'm absolutely fine. Sometimes I pick her up from the floor and I feel like, I don't know, I feel like something's ripped inside and I just have to sit down and I start sweating and I feel sick, and it's really weird. Like the other day her dummy fell out when she was in the car seat, so I leant round to put her dummy in and it felt like the whole of my side had torn. Because of that, which leads on to another question that people have been asking, is when I'm having my next operation. I feel like I should have the operation when we're ready to have our second baby. So for the meantime, I'm just gonna try and put up with it. It is getting worse every single month, so I don't know how much longer I'm gonna be able to last. But I just feel like it would be best to have the operation and then start trying for baby number 2, because that's when my uterus and my ovaries will be most clear. There's also this fear of like having the operation and then being like, oh, there was nothing there. But I think that's a very like mental thing. I feel like maybe sometimes I make up the pain, but I felt like that on my first operation. It's really hard to explain, but with my first operation I nearly cancelled it 2 days before because I thought I was just making it all up and it was all in my mind. And I'm getting those same feelings with the second operation. I'm just thinking, oh, I'll be wasting people's time and there'll be nothing there and I'm just being a wuss and I should be able to put up with it and stuff like that. And it's just really stupid. But yeah, I am going to try and put off the second operation until baby number 2. Hi guys, sorry for the change of scenery, but I'm just editing this video that you're watching now, and for some reason the files at the end of the video aren't working. So I was pretty much at the end of the video anyway. I think the only thing I said after was I asked if anyone who's watching this has endometriosis. I wanted to know if you've had your second operation yet, when you had it, and how you knew it was time. I think that's pretty much it, so I will chat to you guys soon. Hopefully you found this video interesting or informative, I don't know. I just wanted to give you guys a little update because you've been asking so many questions. So that's how everything's going at the moment, and yeah, I will speak to you guys really soon. Bye.